The illusion of innocence until proven guilty. How blind faith in this principle undermines common sense. In theory, innocence until proven guilty is the bedrock of a fair legal system, a noble safeguard meant to protect individuals from the power of the state. It's a phrase we hear in courtrooms, political speeches, and TV crime dramas, held up as the ultimate symbol of justice. But in practice, this principle often functions more as a comforting myth rather than a guiding reality. The truth is, our legal system routinely treats accused individuals as guilty before they ever see the inside of a courtroom. Public opinion, media coverage, and the very structure of the criminal justice system all work against the ideal of presumed innocence. Despite the legal standard, the lived experience of being accused often looks very different. When we say someone is innocent until proven guilty, we're not actually claiming they didn't commit the crime. We're simply asserting that the legal process must act as if they didn't, until there's enough evidence to prove otherwise, but even this procedural ideal is routinely undermined. Consider bail, pre-trial detention, and plea bargaining. These are standard components of our justice system, yet none of them reflect a framework that generally operates under the assumption of innocence. They suggest instead that we often presume guilt, or at least the likelihood of it, from the outset. So it's worth asking, if our system doesn't truly uphold the ideal of innocence until proven guilty, why do we continue to act as if it does? Proving guilt versus presuming innocence. It's important to draw a sharp distinction between requiring proof of guilt and actually presuming innocence. The legal system demands proof beyond a reasonable doubt to convict someone, and rightfully so. That standard is essential, and it protects all of us from wrongful punishment. But too often, people assume that this automatically means that the system is treating defendants as if they're innocent. That's not true. Presuming innocence doesn't just mean requiring strong evidence at trial. It means treating someone as if they are innocent at every stage of the process. And that's where the disconnect becomes clear. Take bail, pre-trial detention, and plea bargaining. These are routine practices in the criminal justice system, yet they reveal a deep skepticism about the accused. They function not as if guilt must still be proven, but as if guilt is already expected. True presumption of innocence would mean more than just courtroom rhetoric. It would affect how we talk about the accused, how they're treated in custody, and how the system responds before any verdict is reached. Consider this. When someone is charged with a crime, they're legally presumed innocent, yet many of them are held in jail before trial. Why? Often because bail is denied, or because they simply can't afford to pay it. Either way, they're locked up, sometimes for months, despite not being convicted of anything. That alone contradicts the idea of presumed innocence. If we really believe these individuals were no more likely to be guilty than innocent, why would we strip them of their freedom before proving anything? The very concept of bail undermines this principle. Bail assumes that the accused might flee or pose a danger to others. But if we truly presumed innocence, why would we treat someone as a potential threat? Defendants can sit in jail simply because they cannot afford bail. Is that treating them like they're innocent people? Others feel pressured into plea deals, even if they didn't commit the crime, because the risk of trial is too high. Is that behavior of a system that truly assumes innocence? When you look closely, the reality becomes undeniable. Denying bail, locking people up pre-trial, and pressuring them into plea bargains all point to a system that doesn't truly uphold the principle it claims to. Seen as guilty from the start. Innocence until proven guilty may be the legal standard, but it's really the emotional or psychological reality. The moment someone appears in court as a defendant, something shifts. They're no longer just a citizen. They're someone sitting beside a defense attorney, addressed by case number. That alone creates a powerful, unspoken message. They must have done something. This bias isn't necessarily conscious. In fact, that's what makes it so dangerous. The mere act of being formally accused, of standing trial, or being processed through the machinery of justice triggers a presumption of, in the minds of many. People assume that if charges have been filed, guilt must not be far behind. The design of the system reinforces this perception. The language we use, the accused, the suspect, the alleged perpetrator, are technically accurate, but it subtly primes us to expect guilt. We claim to presume innocence, but from the moment someone is arrested, booked, and brought to court, they are often treated and perceived as guilty, and that perception carries real consequences. So, if we're serious about justice, we have to confront this uncomfortable truth. Our system fosters the appearance of guilt long before it proves anything at all. What innocent until proven guilty really implies. If we take the principle of innocent until proven guilty literally, not just as a courtroom standard, but as a sincere belief about the person on trial, it leads us to some uncomfortable and often unrealistic conclusions. Let's think this through. If we truly presume that every defendant is innocent, then by default, we're also assuming that the prosecutor got it wrong. Not just occasionally, but regularly enough that we're supposed to believe that the charges are likely baseless until proven otherwise. I do not believe that prosecutors are routinely incompetent, reckless, or acting in bad faith, while I do acknowledge that they are human and can make mistakes. Plea deals, another crack in the innocent until proven guilty ideal. If the justice system truly upheld the principle of innocent until proven guilty, then we would expect more cases to go to trial, where guilt must be proven through evidence beyond reasonable doubt, but that's not what happens. In reality, the vast majority of criminal cases never see the inside of a courtroom. Instead, they end in plea deals. A plea bargain is where the defendant agrees to plead guilty, usually in exchange for a lighter sentence or reduced charges. On paper, it sounds like a voluntary decision, a strategic choice made by someone weighing the risks. But in practice, plea deals often function more like coercion than choice. Because here's the catch. The accused isn't pleading guilty after being proven guilty. They're doing it instead of being proven guilty. And if we really believed that someone is innocent until the state proves otherwise, then why are we pressuring them to admit guilt before the proof is ever acquired? The uncomfortable truth is this. Plea deals only make sense in a system that expects guilt. They rely on the assumption that most defendants are probably guilty, or at the very least, unlikely to win its trial, and so the system incentivizes them to trade their right for a full defense for the security of a shorter sentence. Plea deals are built on pressure, not proof, on strategy, not fairness, on fear, not faith in innocence. We may say that we believe in innocence until proven guilty is the foundation, and that it's the foundation of our justice system, but plea bargains prove that, in practice, we often act like the opposite is true. Conclusion: confronting the gap between ideal and reality. Innocence until proven guilty is a powerful principle. It's one of the most important safeguards in our legal system, designed to protect the individual from the immense power of the state. But if we're being honest, it's more of an ideal than a reality. From bail to pre-trial detention, from plea deals to public perception, the way our system treats the accused often reflects a quiet presumption of guilt, not in name but in practice. The courtroom may insist on innocence until guilt is proven, but long before a verdict is reached, the system has already started treating people like they're guilty. Until we close the gap between what we claim and how we act, innocent until proven guilty will remain what it is too often, a promise we don't keep. Let's have the courage to change that.